The Center for Effective Justice at the Texas Public Policy Foundation was created to promote approaches to criminal justice that enhance public safety, empower and restore victims, and reform offenders without overburdening taxpayers. Over time, the focus of the center has expanded to include the Right on Crime initiative, which works to inform policymakers nationwide on criminal justice issues, as well as the research we've done on effective, cost-efficient criminal justice reforms. Right on Crime brings together national center-right leaders who agree we must go beyond the lock 'em up and throw away the key rhetoric and take tough and smart approaches concerning nonviolent offenders. The center is part of the Texas Public Policy Foundation, the nation's preeminent state-based free market think tank. We seek to move from a criminal justice system that grows when it fails to one that rewards results. Jurisdictions shouldn't judge their success by how many people are incarcerated, but rather on how much crime they can reduce for every dollar spent. This is especially true for crimes that directly and seriously harm other individuals and imperil neighborhoods. One solution is tying part of the funding for criminal justice to key benchmarks, such as recidivism and victim restitution. The criminal justice system shouldn't be the sole province of government. Instead, we should leverage the unique capabilities of nonprofits in areas such as prisoner reentry. Also, we must prioritize victims through restorative justice approaches, such as victim offender conferencing, where the victim and offender reach a binding agreement for restitution and community service. We are uniquely situated to advance these and other policy goals because we conduct research and issue publications while also actively marketing our recommendations to policymakers, the media, and the public. We're continuing to pursue a comprehensive policy effort in Texas that we began in 2005, as well as our national Right on Crime campaign. We have partnerships in key states that are particularly ripe for reform and ready to roll. Over the long term, and with additional resources, we'd like to expand Right on Crime to engage in ongoing activities in all states. We combine academic quality research with a multifaceted communication strategy that adeptly markets our findings and recommendations to lawmakers, media, stakeholders, and opinion leaders. Secondly, as a state-based free market think tank, we bring different constituencies to the table than many organizations that have historically worked on criminal justice reform. While we work closely with allies across the spectrum, our core audience remains right-of-center policymakers whose support is critical in advancing criminal justice reform. Finally, we leverage our counterparts to advance reforms in states other than Texas. Fortunately, there are state-based free market think tanks in all 50 states, and we've worked with 24 of them on criminal justice reform. These assets make us uniquely suited to secure real and meaningful change when provided with the vital support from those who understand the importance of our work. The Center for Effective Justice is effective because we implement proven strategies on criminal justice issues. First, we identify the problem. This involves studying crime patterns, case dispositions, and trends that show who's being incarcerated and for how long. We also study the outcomes associated with prisons, probation, drug courts, and a variety of other programs. We believe a nuanced understanding of the current system and its key challenges is a prerequisite to developing well-tailored solutions. Based on a thorough review of empirical research, we develop recommendations and work with lawmakers and agency leaders to implement them. We draft policies that embody significant findings from studies of various criminal justice programs that feature control groups and sound methodologies. Although we don't endorse legislation, we regularly testify before legislatures, often at the invitation of members. We also build support for reform among a wide variety of organizations that are active on criminal justice policy. We partner with groups ranging from the Texas Criminal Justice Coalition and ACLU to the Sheriff's Association of Texas, Prison Fellowship, and the Manhattan Institute. Further, we spread our message through extensive earned media, online outreach, educational events, conference presentations, and podcasts. In fact, our outreach efforts in 2011 earned a stunning 1.45 billion media impressions around the world, Taken together, these strategies have proven to be successful in building widespread support for our policy agenda. For us, success means transforming America's criminal justice system to increase public safety, empower and restore victims, control costs, and reform offenders more effectively. Success also means that criminal justice policies are evaluated based on results and outcomes, such as the crime rate, not on the number of people incarcerated. We measure our success by the number of our policy recommendations that are passed into law across the nation. We benchmark our progress by monitoring the number of individuals we're reaching through our website, events, and media coverage, as well as references to our research and other publications and the feedback we receive from policymakers. We want people to know that we're concerned about more than the fiscal benefits of reforms. We also seek to increase the number of families that remain whole, the number of youths who stay in school, and the ability of offenders who don't present any danger to society to re-enter the workforce and become contributing members. Also, not everyone realizes that criminal justice reform is one of the few issues where there's genuine bipartisan cooperation and growing consensus. In just the last several years, we've been involved with major reform packages that passed unanimously or nearly so in states such as Texas, South Carolina, Ohio, and Kentucky. The Center for Effective Justice is nonpartisan, and we work closely with members of all parties. In Texas, we've contributed to significant legislative accomplishments, including prohibiting juvenile misdemeanants from being incarcerated in state lockups. We've also helped policymakers develop a budgetary provision in 2009 that now allows counties in Texas to voluntarily receive a share of the state's savings when they reduce commitments to state youth lockups. This has resulted in less juvenile crime and less incarceration of youths. On the adult side, we worked in 2007 with Texas lawmakers to develop a prison diversion funding plan that continues to this day. The $241 million Justice Reinvestment Plan succeeded in avoiding the projected need to build over 17,000 prison beds. It offered alternatives to incarceration, including proven treatment programs. This was in lieu of building prisons which would have cost $2 billion to construct and operate over 5 years. Since 2005, when we began our criminal justice work in Texas, we've seen a drop of more than 9% in both the crime and adult incarceration rates. Today, Texas has its lowest crime rate since 1973. This example served as the blueprint for our Right on Crime initiative to take our work nationwide. The Right on Crime project is anchored by a statement of principles signed by some of the most respected conservative leaders, such as former Florida Governor Jeb Bush, former drug czar Bill Bennett, former Attorney General Ed Meese, and former Congressman J.C. Watts. We're continually challenged by the overwhelming demand for our leadership in every state and our limited resources to meet it. Right on Crime is the only project of its kind in the nation, and transforming criminal justice is a vastly complex task. Because of our small staff size and limited budget, we must currently restrict our impact to a few select states where there's the greatest opportunity for reform. Almost every day, we receive inquiries and requests for guidance from policymakers and think tanks around the country, and even beyond. In 2011, we arranged for Right on Crime signatory and former Congressman Asa Hutchinson to testify by invitation before the Canadian Parliament, but we don't always have the resources to take advantage of these exciting opportunities. With additional resources, we'd address the tremendous need for our leadership across the nation. We'd expand our capacity to conduct research and advance our recommendations in every state. We would use funding to augment our staff with regional offices. We'd also increase our outreach efforts to build the kind of extensive legislative and media relations we have in Texas so that we have those in other states. With more resources and staff, we would host more educational events for legislators across the country. And we'd like to enhance our capacity to conduct statistical analyses of criminal justice systems and programs. While painstaking, this work is vital to developing data-driven solutions that achieve the intended goals. We'd like to provide a more robust presence in states other than Texas, as well as at the federal level. While we've sent letters to members of Congress and worked with congressional staff on a handful of issues, such as the Second Chance Act, we believe there's a need for more ongoing right-on-crime engagement. There's not a single full-time person working on our entire spectrum of reforms, either at the federal level or at any of the other state-based free market think tanks. We'd also like to enhance our involvement in areas such as law enforcement and school discipline. While we've published limited research and advanced a handful of proposals, most of our capacity has been devoted to sentencing, corrections, and reentry. However, there's growing evidence that data-driven approaches to both policing and school discipline can prevent the cycle of crime from beginning. Accordingly, we think there's a tremendous opportunity in these areas to achieve further crime reductions while also attaining positive outcomes for youths, families, and neighborhoods.